Chicago, the Midwest will be on fire with ACN. We guarantee that. And so what I want to do really quick is give the credit back to this gentleman, because I've got the utmost respect for him. He is more than a business partner. In fact, he's family to me. I've grown up in ACN with this gentleman. He's been not just a brother, but also a mentor to me in this business. And this is the fact that he just loves ACN so much, carries ACN on his back. It doesn't matter what team you're on or who you're working with or what's going on. He'll always be there to support you, no matter who you are. So if we can, let's show one of the most selfless leaders I've ever met in ACN some love and appreciation, Mr. James Adler. So I'm going to do something a little different. Whenever I train, I usually train. And when I train, I give information. And I try to tie in some inspiration, but I'm really a how-to kind of guy. Like, I'll teach you how to present so you can have an incredible closing ratio. I'll teach you how to launch so you can get people qualified on the spot. I'll teach you how to drive the line so you can create momentum in your organization. And those are all great and important things, but I feel based on the season we're in right now and based on where we're going as a company, I think the kind of conversation we need to have this evening is a conversation of transparency. Is that okay? Yeah. A conversation that will bring you into the inner, workings of what it is to build this business as a team trainer on your way to senior vice president and everything that's going to be encompassed in that journey. Because Mr. Adler broke down the compensation plan. He showed you the numbers and how it works. But sometimes we need to see some images, some pictures, some visuals so we can really comprehend the power of the ACN compensation plan. Does that make sense? Yeah. So what I want to compare it to, it would be like reading a book and then watching the movie. Are you guys with me so far? So Mr. Adler gave you the book. I'm going to give you the movie now. What I'm going to do is do something you probably, in fact, I've never done in a public forum. I've only done this for my own personal group because I find it very important for people to truly understand the reality in our business. Can we agree in anything, whether it's education, whether it's work, whether it's a relationship, whatever it is, there's always a reality behind a perception, true or not true? Yes. And I truly believe, just like in any type of sport, if you know the reality of the game you're playing, and you know the reality of your limitations, you know the reality of your opponents, you can be strategic and play the game correctly, play the game effectively with an advantage so that way you can win. Are you guys with me so far? Yes. So I'm going to bring you through what we call the story here, and I'm going to open up my story to you. And in this story, what I'm going to do is tie in all the leadership training that you're going to need in order to be empowered to take the information. So going into the rest of January, February, you will have no doubt in ACN. You'll have no doubt where you're going with this opportunity. So we're going to give you a little bit of both. Some inspiration wrapped in there with some information. So by the time we're done, you should feel equipped and empowered and most importantly, on fire with ACN. Is that okay? Yeah. There we go. So let's get right into it. So for those of you who don't know me, who's here that's brand new? Who's brand new in this room? Very good. So everybody else here has been around. Yeah. How many of you guys don't know me? Okay, like 1% of the room. So everyone else knows me, right? Okay, you think you know me, but you don't know me, right? There's a reality behind the perception, yes or no? So I'm going to give it to you. Are you guys okay with that? Yes. I'm going to say some things that some of you guys, this is more for the leaders. For the new people, to be honest, the newest people in the room, this is not really the forum for you. You should just be the Saturday training, because that's when we talk about why ACN is the best in services. This is more of a leadership conversation because my goal is to anchor you in this opportunity with a vision that's so powerful that it's going to remove all doubt and all fear. Is that okay? Yes. So let's jump right into it. So hello. Hello. My name is Max. Yeah. I'm from South Florida. I moved to Chicago about 1.5 years ago. And let me just tell you my story as far as how I got to senior vice president. Is that okay? Yes. And I want to start the conversation with one thing. I did not join ACN to make 10%. I did not join ACN to hit RVP Platinum or Senior Vice President. I joined ACN for one reason and one reason only, because I wanted to make $1 million. That's the truth. Is that bad? No. Does that make me not a good person? No. I got ACN because I wanted to make $1 million and eventually $1 million per year. That was my ambition for why I got involved in this business. Are you guys with me so far? Yes. Very good. Just want to make that really clear. So now, let's get right into it. So, out there. That's me. Max is the boy.
Cute.
You know that? Look at that. I had my Michael Jackson socks on and everything. I always wanted to be successful. I always wanted to be rich, and I didn't know what rich was. I found out what rich was when I started having friends that were rich, and then I realized we weren't rich. We used to have one of my best friends. We used to be karate together growing up. His father was the president of a pediatric hospital called Pediatrics Associates. The guy was making $5 million a year in his business. I didn't know anything about that until I got to his house and I saw his house and I realized, wow, what is this? Is this a mall? Right? And so that's when I started realizing there were differences in terms of how people live. Are you guys with me so far? But right there and then, I said, I want to be successful. I want to get rich. And I went to my parents and I'm going to get rich one day. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to go do it. And you know, Filipino mothers, oh, go become a nurse. You can make 80 grand a year if you do that. You can get rich like that. I said, no. I want to be the kind of rich like this doctor. I want to have that type of lifestyle. And so that was me as a young person. I was always ambitious. And my father played a trick on me that literally changed my entire life. Most people don't know my nickname, but everyone in my family and close family and friends, they call me this. I never say this. In fact, in 11 years, I've never said this in a public forum. I'm going to say it right now because I just don't care anymore. Okay? My nickname, which was given to me by my Jamaican cousin, my aunt married a Jamaican, so it's interesting to see my family. I'm like the only Asian guy in a bunch of Jamaicans. That's why me and Adam are like, we're so connected, right? Anyways, my nickname was Suku. Okay? Now, it means absolutely nothing. Okay? But I always, I was always curious. People would ask me, what does that even mean? And I don't know. So I asked my father, I said, Dad, what does Suku mean? Now my father's smart. He's clever. Here's what he said. He goes, Suku means master of your own destiny. I said, what is destiny? It's your future. So that he goes, you are the master of your destiny. That's what Suku means. So you can do whatever you want, you can have whatever you want, you can become anything you want. So he planted that seed in my mind at a young age. I was probably 5, 6, or 7 years old when that happened. So because of that, I think it's always been an underlying drive for me to continuously pursue, success, period, right? So that was me growing up, and then we moved, and then I started looking like this. Check this one out. Oh, look at that. So I got off track, started hanging out with the bad crowd, right? And what ended up happening, by the time I was in 7th grade, I was addicted to drugs. I was doing ecstasy, I was snorting cocaine, I was doing whatever you can imagine, I was doing it. That's what I was doing in Miami, right? And so ultimately, I started getting off track in my life, and by the time I hit 8th grade, 9th grade, I got expelled from school, kicked out, banned from public school. I was such an evil kid, right? And the truth is, I wasn't really evil. I just like getting messed up sometimes, you know what I mean? But I was evil, I was bad. So I got kicked out of school, put in a bunch of different alternative programs, rehab programs, I see psychologists, all these different things. And based on what my result was of me doing drugs and selling drugs, I was an entrepreneur early on, but doing all those things, I was labeled as a problem child, problem person, a kid with a bunch of issues. And so that carried on with me when I went back into high school and whatever. So at that point, I kind of lost sight of who I was and where I was going to go and any of that stuff. But it's so funny how God, and I don't know if you're a believer or not, but it's okay if I am, right? But it's so funny how God will dress up an opportunity with crisis, right? So this was the biggest crisis growing up. I felt like a complete loser. My own family told me you're a loser, you're never going to become anything. And because of what I had done, I was forced to be a part of this program called Aspida, which is actually here in Chicago too, I found out. You know Aspida? You have some Aspida out there?
I went there, yes.
So I had to join this program because it was required by the court in order for me to get back into school and to graduate and all this. I had to do like 1,000 community service hours and do all this stuff. So I ended up going into this program called Aspida. And this is where I meet the counselor named Ralph. Ralph went to a PBR the day before, and this is fast forward, I was in there for a couple months. A day before went to a PBR, and they asked him who he knew, and he thought of me for whatever the reason. Now Ralph never joined the business. I went to go talk to Ralph actually, to try to recruit him into another network marketing company called Primerica. I was about to join that company. If they sell life insurance, I don't know if you guys know what that is. Yeah, Primerica. And so I was in the process of doing a 40-hour course, and said, go talk to somebody, and there's a lot of people. I was like, oh, perfect, Ralph. He's a counselor, he has all these people who look up to him, whatever, let me go talk to him. So I went to try to show him the business and whatnot. He was, hey, that's complicated. You should look at ACN. All we do is get customers, they pay a bill, you get paid every single month. And I was like, what do you mean? Off the phone? You get paid off the phone? I can't believe it. So in my mind, that was way easier. So I said, I want to get started. How do I get started in this business? He goes, well, I'm not doing it. It's not for me. But I want you to call this guy Sergio. Sergio's the guy that hosted the meeting. He can probably get you in on what's going on. So he gave me Sergio's number. I called Sergio 10 times an hour. Every hour I was calling him 10 times. Because I was so motivated to get this information. To get paid off the phone, that just blew my mind. So I finally got a hold of him. And I labeled him Jackson. I don't want to use his real name, but whatever, I already said it. So anyways, don't Facebook him. And so August 18th was the phone call that changed my life. Because he finally called me back, and he says, what are you doing Thursday night at 7:45? I said, nothing. What's going on? I want to get this information. I heard about this business. I want to do this. He goes, great. Meet me at the Don Shula Hotel. Perfect. I'll be there. And so I didn't care where it was. I didn't care what was going on. I knew it was already $4.99 before I saw the presentation, but I was motivated to just come and get the information. I was hunting him down to get invited to a presentation. How many of you guys wish you had prospects that were begging you to join your team and begging you to see the presentation? Anybody? Yeah, it never happens, right? So I went to the presentation, and I got there, and if you guys remember the old presentation, box number, what was it, 6? What was box 6 back in the day? Do you remember? You guys don't remember box 6? Overriding residuals, you get 2, get 2, get 2. Well, they showed me how we can make like a fortune in residual income, and that was me. I was like, is this for real? No way. I was pumped. I said, I can make how much when people pay their phone bill? This is insane. I was sitting there, my knees started to shake. You know when people are excited, the meeting, their leg begins to shake, right? So that was me. I was jacked up until box number 7, the old box, $4.99. It's now $3.99, so when they said it was $4.99, I was like, dang, I knew it. I can't do this business, I don't have the money. Now the reason why I'm such a firm believer in closing people is because I almost left the room. I almost didn't join. I was going to walk away because I didn't have the $4.99. The person doing the presentation here, thank God they sat me at the end of the presentation. They said, you can't leave yet, we want to have a conversation with you. I was like, uh-oh, what's going to happen here? And they had an enrolling conversation. What did you like most? Do you see an opportunity for yourself? Do you want to make a little bit or a lot? What would you do if you had an extra $1,000 a month, $2,000 bucks a month coming in? And they started closing me. And I didn't know what that was back then. I was just like, yeah, okay. And ultimately what he helped me do was overcome my objection for the business. And that's why I became such an aggressive closer, because had he not closed me, I would not be here today. Does that make sense? Yes. So they closed me into the business. I get started in ACN, and then what's the first thing they tell you to go and do? You got to start listening to audios. You got to start reading the books. You got to start wearing suits. So I started doing everything I could because I wanted to get rich in this business. I didn't even own a suit, so I started borrowing suits from people. I got a suit at the thrift shop. It didn't matter. That was my first rep, my best friend right over here. We thought we were fly. You see what I mean? We were doing everything we had to do. First week in the business. And so they said, you just got to be persistent. You know, the beginning of your business, it takes time and effort to get the momentum going. It's kind of like a jet taking off. If you guys know the analogy, the fuel in the engine of the jet, right, it requires 2/3 of the fuel supply to get the jet off the ground. So the majority of the fuel is utilized on takeoff, and the remainder of the fuel is utilized for the rest of the trip. So they said, Max, all you got to do is work really, really hard right now, sacrifice, so you can get your momentum off the ground. And once you do, it's going to continue to flow. I was like, man, I got this. I'm motivated. I'm reading books. I'm listening to audios. I'm going to trainings. I'm wearing suits. And here's what it felt like. Right? This is what it really felt like. I'm like, this jet's not taking off. Right? After a couple of weeks, I'm like, this is kind of hard, actually. I don't know if I can do this. Like, every person I talked to didn't want to join. Everybody was negative. My mother was negative. She didn't want to become a customer. Did you know I almost didn't get qualified in my first 30 days? Crazy, right? I had a PBR. I invited like a few people. Guess how many showed up? Not even the presenter, right? And at the time, here's what's funny. You saw how I looked, right? Saw how I looked? Yeah. So because I looked like that, no one in my uplines wanted to help me. You're like, this guy's a loser. He's not going to bring anybody worth anything to the meeting. So I had no support. I'm like, this is hard. I don't know if I can do this. And so I actually contemplated quitting the business. And then, here's what saved me. So I went to a training, Saturday training, and said, hey, we're going to have a big event next week. You're going to meet your upline RVP mentor. He's going to be flying in, and they're going to be doing a super Saturday training. However, if you become an ETT, And back then you needed 20 customers and 3 people with 8 services each. If you become an ETT, you can get into the private leadership advanced ninja training. And I was like, oh, I need to get in on that one. And so I did what I had to do. I popped ETT the same day they had that Friday leadership training, and then I had a chance to finally meet my mentor. And I was thinking to myself, maybe this is why I'm not successful. I'm reading books, I'm listening to audios, I'm wearing my dad's suits, I'm still not making money, I don't understand. Maybe this is the missing link. I need a mentor, right? And so I met my mentor, Mr. Captain Griffiths, RVP. Now, if you know Mr. Kip, no, that's not James Allen's father, okay? I know what you're thinking. Same haircut, yeah. This gentleman, when I met him, it was 11 plus years ago. He's a Jamaican guy. Hey, he just totally laid back. Here's me. I get to the meeting, I'm like, oh my God. Inside, I'm so fired up because I'm going to get the holy grail to success in this business. I'm going to learn how to make $1 million. I'm going to get rich. So I finally get there, and I'm like, hey sir, how's it going? Good to meet you. I am so motivated and pumped up. I will do anything you tell me to go and do. Just tell me what to do. I'm going to get rich. I'm going to blow it up. I'm your guy. He's like, hey man, you just need to chill out. No, I don't have a terrible Jamaican accent. You know what I mean? But he just said you need to chill. And so he did his training, and this is all he said. Here's what he said. He goes, everybody whatever it is that you don't master will master you. Will have mastery over you. He goes, whatever you don't master will have mastery over you. And so here's what he goes, you know what your problem is, young boy? I'm like, what? He goes, you are impatient. You want success now. You think this is microwavable success. That's your karma. Because you are that way, that's going to be the lesson you must learn and master before you'll have success. God won't give you the success until you overcome this impairment of impatience. He goes, look, if you work hard and be patient, the rest will follow. I said, the rest of what? He goes, everything you want. You just got to work hard and be patient. Work hard and be patient. So what did I do? I said, you know what? He's right. I thought this was going to be rich quick. I thought I was going to make $1 million right away. Let me just be patient. I'm going to continue working hard. So I went back to reading. I went back to listening to audio books. I went back to every single training, started wearing my suits. I did my declarations. One day I'm going to be rich. 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 So I started working hard on all the things. And by then my friend had already quit. He quit after before his 10 business days so he can get his money back. You know what I mean? So this was it, and I was getting frustrated. And I was like, I'm patient, but I don't know if I'm that patient. It was like watching grass grow, because I still was not getting results. I was frustrated. And so here's what ended up happening. A year went by. A year went by. Guess how much money I made my first year in business? No, not 40 bucks, chill. Easy, about 1,000. Now, maybe like 1,500. Yeah, about that. I spent more money on my business the first year than I even made. Does that make sense? Yes. But can we agree that's traditional business? Yes. See, but I didn't know that. I was too young and dumb to understand it. I was like, it's $4.99, whatever. And everyone's looking at it from the outside in. It's not working. But here's what ended up happening. It's funny how things work. I continued showing up no matter what. I was consistent no matter what. I didn't let the size of my result determine the size of my commitment because I was committed, period. And so here's what ended up happening. One convention, I was on a subway. I believe it was in Baltimore, Maryland. This is in 2005. I met a team coordinator by the name of Josh Ludington. This guy had a Porsche 911 and a $1.5 million house. Yes, his house was rented and his car was extremely used, but who cares? To me, I was like, this is the man. He's 21 and he's balling. I want to be like this guy. So what ended up happening that changed my business, I had already at that point became very good at presenting. I became good at launching. I became good at the doing part, right? It's not hard to present this business. But I, for whatever the reason, was not getting results. So at that point, I had to go to some baptism or something in California, and I kind of sidetracked and went to go hang out with Mr. Josh. I went with him for about 3 days, and I watched him do this thing. We sat at Starbucks from 8 till 8. I saw him present, I saw him launch, and I'm just sitting there observing him, taking notes. I feel like I was at the Lincoln Park Zoo observing the monkeys in the glass cage, you know what I mean? I was like, I see, yeah. And after spending 3 days with him, guess what I learned? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You want to know what I learned? I learned that I already know how to do the business. The difference between him and I was he was confident. He did not doubt himself. He did not question the opportunity. See, I was going into every presentation, I hope I say the right things. What if they ask me a bunch of questions? What if someone asked me, how much money are you really making? What if I mess up? So the difference between him and I is I was overthinking the situation, and he wasn't thinking, he was just doing. He would just show up confident, like the man. He would just, boom, yeah, so this is what it is. You're lucky if you get a chance to work with us, because we're building a massive organization in this area. If you work with us, you'll be positioned above everything that's going to happen. I was like, wow. But the presentation was no different than any presentation. It was all the same. It was who he was being, not what he was doing. So for the first year and a half in his business, I put so much time and effort to doing more, listening to more books, audios, reading more books, going to more training. I had focused on the doing part, but what I had missed was the being part. Are you guys with me so far? And when I saw what he was able to produce, I was like, oh man, okay. Gave me confidence. I came back to my marketplace, and look at what happened. My first year in business, I literally tracked this. I did about 27 IBOs in my first year in business. Did you know that's not even enough to, back then, the way our comp plan was, you couldn't even make a bonus? That averages out to like 1.001 IBO a month. Today, I would at least make 30 bucks per person, right? Today, back then, nothing, right? My first year, nothing. Frustrated. Year 2, 56. Progress. Right? December of 2005 is when I met Josh, went to California, and my production went to 400 people in, what was that, 2006. That year, I made the first time I ever made 6 figures in ACN. So I went from, check it out, no money to $3 grand to over $100,000. So hold on, wait. So the first year, it was pure investment of $499 and time and effort. No returns. Year 2, no returns. But can we agree year 3 made up for the first 2 years of loss? Yeah. That's how it works. And so what ended up happening? I was fired up. My business blew up, right? My business blew up. And everything about me blew up too. Everything blew up about me too. I was 19 years old. I had to be like my buddy. Got me a Porsche. I did all that stuff. My business blew up. And so did I. My confidence went up. I got this. No one can touch me now. I'm top 5 TC North America. Booyah. All the haters. Booyah. Well, so what do you call that when that begins to start showing up?
Ego.
Right. Ego, right? Moronic, right? Whatever. So here. And I have my little team. I go to conventions thinking I was the man. And I'm like, look at my squad. Right? This is before Coalition and Revolution and Dynasty actually had massive organization. This was our team, and I'm over here thinking that I am the man, right? And look at this, look at this. I started eating everything. Look how big I got. 225 pounds. My ego got big, and everything around me got big from my weight. Look at this. I ended up buying my 2 cars. I started becoming who? The man. You see that? I went and got me moved out of my mom's house, got my first condo, and then I was like, you know what? We're the best. You know what we do? We changed the game. So I signed a 5-year lease, okay? As a TC. My rent was $4,600 every 30 days, not counting the utilities, okay? I had my condo, which was about $2,000 plus a month, and then I had my Porsche, which my insurance cost me more than a car payment. You understand that, right? So here I am, I'm the man. I eventually hit RVP. At the time it was called 3-star, there was 2 different types. I hit 3-star RVP, I was 21. And can we agree, when you start going from 0, no money, to 100 grand, to then multiple 6 figures, then being the youngest person in the world to ever hit RVP, can we agree that's very, very dangerous? Yes. You start thinking you're untouchable. You start thinking you the man, right? That's what happened. I started thinking I was the man. I was uncoachable, just like Mr. Adams said, those IBOs who get to that place of esteem where you can't tell them anything anymore. That was me. No one could tell me anything. I had done the unthinkable. I am the man. Even my RVP had a conversation. He goes, Max, you shouldn't be doing all this stuff. Why are you getting an office? You don't need an office. It's a home-based business. You want a real business, go do something else. It's a home-based business. I'm like, well, no, Spencer Hunt has one, Simon Boot has one, Danny Bay has one, all the big guys have one. I'm going to be like